Hello everybody and welcome to Philosophy 115, Logic and Critical Thinking. And this is just going to be a very quick run through of the syllabus. Now the syllabus in class is broken up into, or actually online I should say, is broken up into several parts. For example, the grading rubric is in a different part than something that's labeled as the syllabus main. This is a larger version of the syllabus that will be available for download. And like I said, I'm just going to hit the main part. So it's still your responsibility to read the entire syllabus and know everything that's in the class. But I'm just going to hit the main parts. And not listed in here right now is academic honesty. You should know about the academic honesty policy. It is listed online. So you should make sure that you know all about that stuff. That's also your responsibility. Okay, so my name is Fred Curry, right here. And you can read a little bit about me in the introduction section and in the profile section, so I'm not going to really talk about myself here. What I will say is that this is where you should email me at, and it's also extremely important that when you contact me, you use your own Coastline email account. Evidently, and this is just what they told me, I'm a new hire, they told me that if students try to contact with their Gmail with different accounts like Yahoo or whatever other accounts they have, they often get filtered out as spam and then I won't see them. So I'm pretty good about responding to students, but I have to actually get the email. I also need you to follow the labeling conventions that I go over in the syllabus, so I'll just let you read through for that. Basically what I want you to do is make sure you include your name and that you label the class that you're in. So but make sure that you use your own Coastline account. I realize it might be a pain, but it's better than mine not actually ever seeing it. So this is just what I've been told, that it can get lost. Also, do not use voicemail. I don't use voicemail, I use email. So I can actually read what you said. Sometimes it might be hard to hear something because of static or bad connections with voicemail. Also, it takes longer to get. You have to replay it sometimes, several times, and it's hard to go back if you miss something. So I just prefer to deal with email only. Okay, not going to go through the normal part of the schedule description here. This was just in the regular course description. I do like to note here that logic and critical thinking is really useful tool for all of your classes in the future. So hopefully this will help you in your future courses. I just mentioned several of the things here. It will help you, with politics, evaluating news media, evaluating scientific claims, evaluating advertisements, lots of things in your daily life as well as in school. So I hope that you find this class just extremely useful in the future. You might forget what a lot of the terms are. You might forget you might not do things like in a very formal way on a piece of paper after you leave the class, but you'll hopefully pick up habits of thinking that will really help you later. And especially in terms of some of these fallacies, hopefully you'll remember what some of these are, or at least that they are fallacies, and you'll be able to pick up on them when you see them in the news or you see politicians or pundits using them and so forth. And that could really make you more aware. And it can make you more aware of your own arguments too. If you develop your own critical voice, you can pick up if you're doing something like this in a paper you're writing. It can be very helpful. At least I hope you find it so. These are the student learning outcomes. I will let you go ahead and go over these because they're posted in several places. Again, lots of these things are hopefully going to be very useful for you in your future careers as well as in just your future lives in general. Okay, so the course organization. Basically, you get readings, you get various lecture material, which might be videos, it might be PowerPoint presentations that I give you, could be just like reading. I might just give you some notes to look at in addition to the readings, that sort of thing. Every module, and in a 16-week course we're doing a module a week, every module is going to contain a discussion question, except I don't think I'm doing one the very final week. But every module is going to contain a discussion question, and each discussion question has 2 parts, a primary response, and then you're also supposed to respond to another student's response. So you'll see how that works. And these are really important for your grade. I sort of see the class as centered around these forum discussions. In addition, you're going to be, in addition to the forums, you'll be assessed through quizzes and also through tests. And the main difference between quizzes and tests is that tests are longer, they're worth more points, and they're going to tend to have more short answer, short essay type questions. Quizzes are going to tend, although not be exclusively, have more multiple choice type questions, these sorts of things. All right. So a bit more about modules. They might contain tests or quizzes or other assignments. You should make sure you look at these carefully, not always assume that they have the same thing. Attendance, well, this is an online class, so there's not attendance as such, but you should expect to log on at least 3 times a week, once at the very beginning, again in the middle of the week, usually for your primary post, and again towards the end of the week to do your response post. And sometimes you might want to log on more than that, but you should at least expect to log on 3 times a week in broken up portions like that. Okay, so just real quickly about the way you're graded. I'm not going to spend a long time on this, but there are 1,000 points in the course. The discussion forums are worth 300 points. Now that's an awful lot of points considering that the discussion forums are not graded on correctness. They're graded on whether or not you genuinely engage with the text, whether it looks like you're really trying to say something about the text and you're adding something to the conversation. And if you are, you'll probably get full points or close to full points for that. Now that also means you need to add something with the response post too. Responses should not just say I agree with you or disagree with you. They should say, it's fine if they say those things, but then they should additionally say, here's why, here's some additional reasons or arguments or evidence or anecdotes, something like that. But notice, 300 points is an awful lot out of 1,000. It's so much that it means that even if you get 58% failing on all the other points in the class, you can still get a C in the course. Lowest C possible, but that really doesn't matter on your transcript. You can get a C in the class. So that is hopefully a really good incentive to keep up on the forums. And you're even allowed to miss one and still get credit for it. Okay, just remember you have to do both parts, both the post and the response to get full credit, and you have to really engage. There are 6 quizzes. I should highlight both of that. 6 quizzes. It's worth 240 points. That means they're each worth 40 points. There are 3 tests worth 460 points each. Both the first and the last test are worth 150 points each. The middle one, test 2, is worth 160. It's worth a little bit more, both because I had 10 points left over and also because it has a large essay attached to it, because this covers the writing section. And so you're going to have about a week to do an essay, and that's going to be worth about half the points for the test. So it has the largest writing assignment, so it seems like it's fair that it should be worth more. So if you want to think of the essay as a separate thing, that's okay, but then the test is going to be worth significantly less. So really, I consider them both. I consider the essay part of the test. Finally, this is just a very small assignment. It's the letter of agreement, but it's actually the only extra credit I currently have planned for the course. And if you sign that within the first week, it will give you 5 points of extra credit. In addition, this extra credit, it's the way, or one of the ways, in which I evaluate whether you've actually been active in the first few weeks of school. And students who aren't active get dropped. It's school policy. I apparently have to drop students if they're not active. So it's important to do things to show that you're active in the first few weeks of school. Letter of agreement, best first thing to do. So I hope you all do that right away. Grading is the standard 90, 80, 70, 60% scale. With 1,000 points in the class, it's very easy. You just divide by 10. So 900, 800, 700, very simple. Tests and quizzes, you should note that they're going to be timed. I already talked about the major differences between them. I'll let you read this sort of information on your own. Here I give a lot of hints for writing good discussion questions or good discussion posts and response posts. I'll let you go through that on your own. No point in just reading it to you. Forum etiquette, mentioned this before. It's perfectly okay to attack other people's arguments, to attack other people's positions, but it's not okay to attack other people. I want people to feel absolutely comfortable in this course expressing any opinions or viewpoints they want. And you'll never ever in this course be graded on what you believe. So people are allowed to believe and express whatever beliefs they want. Now you will be graded on how well, if it's part of an answer to a test or something, how well you can defend those beliefs, what kind of arguments you can bring to bear. In other words, whether they have fallacies in them, that sort of thing. But you're never going to be graded on what you believe. I like diversity in the classroom. The more diversity, the better, and that includes diversity of opinion. So I don't want individuals attacked, but you can attack people's opinions. So it's okay for a conservative to attack a liberal to attack a conservative. As long as you're not attacking the conservative person, you're saying, oh, I think this ideal fails because of this argument, or I think that ideal fails because of this evidence. But you can attack the person. I think you're an idiot, or only a barbarian would think that. Okay. All right. I already mentioned the importance of forums. How to post your DQ's responses. I just want to emphasize that you should write primary discussion question for your primary post, and you should write response. I should mention that here somewhere. You should write response for your response post. Here are tips for good responses if you're not quite sure what kinds of things to say. Getting towards the end here, I want to mention the types of forums we have. So we have an introductions forum. Here I hope you do take the time to introduce yourself. I'm going to be introducing myself in the forums. I hope most of you do too. It's completely not mandatory if you're shy, but I think it does make for a nicer experience for everybody, and I hope most of you make use of that. We already talked about the DQ forums. This is where the majority of our philosophical conversation will be taking place with each other. There's the raised hands forum. This is where you can ask questions of me if you think other students will benefit from these questions. You can ask them to me in email if you're especially shy, but I think that it's nice to share them if you think other people can benefit. There's the coffee shop. I like the coffee shop. It's a great place to have conversations about what happened in your day, movie you saw. You notice somebody else in the introductions that has something in common with you. You could start a conversation there. If you start to get off on a tangent in one of the discussion question forums, right? So you start to get into debate with somebody about something, but we're really talking about the nature of arguments, and you actually want to talk about, say, the ethics of something, bring it to the coffee shop. And that's wonderful. So the coffee shop has a lot of uses. Anonymous comments. It turns out that Seaport doesn't actually allow for anonymous websites, but I think it's important for students to be able to give me anonymous feedback, both for the things they like, because students sometimes aren't comfortable telling professors about what they like because, I don't know, maybe they think it looks like they're kissing up. They are also often not comfortable saying what they don't like because, I don't know, maybe they're afraid they'll get in trouble or something. Now, I hope students feel comfortable with me. I hope they feel that they can tell me whatever they want, but I realize that sometimes that's hard. And I think that anonymous comments are so important that I actually went to an external service and set up an anonymous forum. And if you log on to the service, you can make up any name you want, so I can't tell who you are. Now, I'm only going to be checking this once a week or so it's not a good place to ask questions. I used to set up an anonymous forum to ask questions with too. I used to make the raised hands forum such that you could post anonymously, but I can't do that here. And since I check this not quite as often, it's probably not a good place to ask questions unless it's just not urgent at all. But it is a good way to give me feedback, and I think it's important. So you can go ahead and check that out if you want to give me feedback. And I hope if you feel you have something you want to tell me, well, first of all, I hope you feel you can email me. But if you don't feel that you can email me, I sure hope you make use of that. I think it's important. As far as using the book, we'll be reading about 30 pages or so a week. That could vary from anywhere from 20 pages to 40 or something like that a week. Not counting, sometimes a few additional pages here and there of supplemental material. That's pretty low for a college class, but in philosophy, oftentimes, in fact, it's expected that you read things twice. So you shouldn't feel upset if you have to read things twice. That's actually normal. I mentioned here course and authority. You should never feel like you can't question the authority of the textbook or that you can't question material in the textbook. In a logic class, a lot of the sort of things like what is a fallacy or what is deductive reasoning, that's a little bit more set usually than other things. But in terms of, how you feel about certain arguments, especially if we're talking about various ethical or political or something arguments, again, nobody's ever graded on what they believe in this course, first of all. Also, the text is giving, lots of different viewpoints on different pieces of material. So the authors they cite are often going to be contradicting each other on the arguments they give, because our point here is to analyze the arguments. So feel free to say anything you like about any of that, and especially if you end up in one of my ethics classes or something like that, questioning the authority of the text is completely normal, because we end up with looking at completely contrary theories of ethics and so forth. What to do each week? The first thing to do each week is to look at the details of the assignments each week. You look at the module. You look at the forums and what your DQ assignment is. Sometimes they might take more times than others. You do the readings. Any additional material readings or lecture components you should look at. Make sure that you know about any quizzes or tests you have to take. And of course, sometimes you might want to change the order that you do things. Might depend on the particular week. And I should mention that I was just hired a few weeks ago to teach this course, so I'm still gathering material. You probably shouldn't look too many weeks in advance as far as what the setup for the modules are. I'll be adding these as I go along. This is just an outline of the course topics. I'll let you look at that at your leisure. I've already talked about contacting me, so I shouldn't need to go through that again. Getting back to you, I say within 3 work days. Almost always, I should be able to get back to you quicker than that. Just give myself some leeway here, just in case something bad happens. But usually I'll get back to you much sooner. As long as you send it correctly and label it and so forth. Getting started. First thing you should do, that letter of agreement that we mentioned, that's important. Read the syllabus completely. Familiarize yourself with Seaport so you know how to navigate through it. Look at the basic lesson plan, the course modules that we have. Get a feel for when the tests and quizzes are going to be, how they match up with your other classes, that sort of thing, so you know what your, the busy times of your semester are going to be. Look at what we're currently working on and begin the first readings. Normally the readings of each week will be a little bit longer than this week. I slowed down the first week because you got to get used to the class and the syllabus and so forth. Also, when doing the readings, it's very important to remember to do the exercises yourself to the point where you feel that you're competent in answering the questions. The ones with stars are actually answered in the back of the book, but you should try the other ones as well. And feel free to ask other students, what they got for these answers and these kinds of things. And if you really want, you can ask me for one or two of them. I don't want to get, 100 different emails with these, or it might get difficult. But if a lot of students start asking me, I could post the answers to a couple of them, something like that, depending on how much interest there is. This is also incredibly important. Make a note of unfamiliar terms. And I don't just mean being able to regurgitate what it is that a definition is for a term without really understanding it. Philosophy is all about concepts. You need to understand the concept behind behind a word, and understand how to apply it. So it's not about being able to regurgitate a definition and just state what it means. You need to understand how to be able to apply it, how to use the concept. That's what's important, because a concept is a tool. It's a new tool with which to think or with which to reason. And you have to be able to understand it to that level. So it's not a matter of being able to repeat information. It's a matter of being able to apply the term yourself constructively. And the only way to do that is to sort of practice it to the point where you can use it in a fairly natural manner. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Remember, this isn't supposed to substitute for looking at the syllabus yourself. It's just supposed to be a quick start. All right, I hope you guys all enjoy the course.